All right, welcome to my channel. Let's talk. So I'm seeing something that is very dangerous in the health, the wellness, the food industry, and I wanted to talk about it. I make comments on certain people's Instagram posts and stuff like that. They either don't post or their posts are just so juvenile. Or responses, I mean, and it's driving me a little crazy. So I was reading the other day on this one Instagram how it's going to kill you to have sugar. Now, people's definition of sugar is donuts, cake, pastries. Never mind the fact that these things that you're eating are bare minimum 60 to 65% of the calories coming from fat. So I don't know how that's a sugar source. Yeah, there's sugar in it, but it's most of your calories are coming from fat. They are talking about sugar's going to kill you. Well, they're not talking about the Randall cycle. They're not talking about anything that really matters. They're just sugar, sugar, sugar. Meanwhile, when you point out the fact that sugar intake has plummeted since the 1980s, and protein intake has skyrocketed since the 1980s, and we've gotten fatter since the 1980s, not skinnier, it doesn't really compute because they have this mentality of carnivore, keto, whatever it is, sugar's bad, and this has really taken hold. This is one of the fad diets that just doesn't seem to want to die, and it's largely because of how quickly it shows its effects, right? You can go on a keto or carnivore diet. You are healing yourself because what were you eating before? Your sugar intake was Doritos or donuts or something. You're on an elimination diet all of a sudden. You're eating nothing but meat, which is an elimination diet. Meanwhile, you're not eliminating because number two is almost just like once a week, maybe. And people who say that it isn't. I have so many people in my comments section that say that that's the case. And I went through it myself. I literally would have to go eat carbs like once a week because otherwise I wouldn't go number two. And then when I finally did go number two, it could kill you. It could, like, with the smell that came from it. Now, what's really happening is they've got the sugar crew butted up against the carnivore crew, and the carnivore crew butted up against the sugar crew, you know, going at each other, telling each other how stupid everybody is. And it has no, so, you know, the industry is really good at that. The industry is really good at dividing people, telling people they're idiots. And then people start, you know, getting involved with religions and like my religion says this and my religion says that. If you really want to break it down, Genesis 1:29 says, eat all fruit-bearing or seed-bearing fruit. You know, pretty self-explanatory. Then during the after the flood, there was no fruit left, so it said, you know, the Bible says that you can eat meat until the vegetation grows again. And it even talks about in parts of the Bible where once the salvation comes, the 1,000 years comes, that lions and everybody will be back to eating plant. So it even talks about this happening again, Genesis 1:29 style, living like that again, because whoever actually makes it is going to be on this planet for 1,000 years during a rest period. And I don't know what happens after that, you know, whatever. So if we really want to go down that path, there's that path. But I think the underlying cause for a lot of this stuff is stuff's falling out of the sky, the preservatives in the food that we're eating. And that's another thing when you go on carnivore. You are eliminating a lot of that stuff. Now, the animals that you're eating are eating that preservative stuff that is being put into the grains and everything that they're eating. So you are getting it at some level, but you're not getting it as much of a high level as like if you literally were just eating stuff out of bags and boxes. Like the amount of preservatives that you are eating or were eating is insane. It's insane comparatively. I just saw a short, and I really wish I would have saved it because I could have put it here. England is now going into stores, invading stores basically, and pulling American products off and incinerating this stuff. because it is so unhealthy. It's incinerating this stuff. You've got people who go over to England or Europe or, you know, parts of whatever, not here, and eat more fatty, luxurious food and lose weight. And then they come back and they're like, wait a minute, how'd that happen? It's because you weren't eating this other stuff. Not to mention the fact that there was a deal signed with the seed oils to fatten up the livestock. Well, it was fattening up the livestock so much that it was causing detriment to the livestock. And they're like, we can't use this stuff. We'll make it look like it's healthy and we'll sell it to the humans. And that is what's happened. So instead of us like focusing on they are poisoning our food, we are carnivore crew over here, we've got the vegan crew over here, we're fighting it against each other. And meanwhile, they're just money everywhere with this byproduct that's not any good. Fluoride, not any good. It's a byproduct that nobody can do anything with. So what are we gonna do? We'll dump it in the water. It's safer for your teeth. Has the dentist gone away? I haven't gone to the dentist for decades, but like, has the dentist vocation stopped? No, of course it hasn't. So clearly the fluoride in the water isn't doing anything other than actually just like calcifying different parts of our brain and our thyroid. That's what it's doing. So we've got all of this stuff going on, and then you got the carnivore crew, then you got the high carb crew, and they're fighting against each other. Meanwhile, the middleman over here is making money hand over fist. Can't even believe how much money they're making on this byproduct. It shouldn't even be eaten. Whey protein, casein, back in the day wasn't even eaten because it's so toxic for the body, but now they're selling it to you in a tub, and you're calling it, paleo. Like the paleo tree, the paleo tree, paleo is all natural stuff that, the caveman was drawing tubs of protein. They find them in Utah, the tubs of protein, they took them off the trees, they put it in their blender. I mean, the people are idiots. And it's crazy. And then you get people defending this stuff, coming in the comment section and, you're an idiot. All you need to do is eat T-bone steak. Not looking at the fact that you haven't shit for 2 weeks and, the amount of detoxing that your body was doing has completely stopped. So you think you're cured. It doesn't work that way. There's entire systems in your body that can't actually run off anything but carbohydrates. It does not have the ability to break down fat and protein and utilize it. It can't do it. And there's entire systems in your brain or in your body, like brain being one of them, that will not break other things down and consume them. And then they're like, well, there's what's it, glucogenesis or whatever. I can't pronounce that word. That's their defense. Well, you have this system. How do you not put two and two together that this is a survival mechanism? This system's in place because you ate too much protein and it's turning into carbohydrates, which it actually runs off of to get energy from. Vegans survive on things too. I'm not like circling any one group. I happen to have lost a fairly significant amount of weight, 175 pounds, on high carb, low fat after my system shut down from doing keto and carnivore, which is why I come at the crew kind of hard. And it had, but if you really look at it, I mean, the carnivore to keto thing is really toxic for the body. It really is. And who's making money off of it? The pharmaceutical industry. They love it. Why do you think so many channels are so big? They're always pushing these roid ragers over here. People with these huge bags under their eyes got to live on coffee because they can't, they don't have enough energy. And that's who you're listening to, right? When you're getting your information. Not somebody who, I may not be at my final weight because it has taken me this long to undo the effects of 10 years of keto and carnivore. It has taken forever for me to get to a healthy state. It just has. I have gotten places lower than I am now. I come back, blah, blah, blah. It's like a ping pong, you know, whatever. Probably, you know, a lot of it's my fault. But the objective, like Jesus says, don't worry about what you eat. And really, honestly, if I just can't eat a lot of protein without smelling like Windex, you know, like it's ridiculous. I smell like I know, even if I have like an entire can of beans in a meal, I will smell like Windex the next day. So I still, like the body's like, dude, you screwed up. Like we can't do protein that much anymore. Not to mention the fact that our muscles, you know, it looks pretty good, are glycogen storage units. Like if you can imagine, if you're walking down the street or driving down the street and there's a storage unit with all the junk that people buy trying to make themselves happy because they're miserable, because they're on keto and carnivore. That building is what your muscles are. They are they are built from protein, but they store glucose. They are glucose storage units is what they are. So this whole thing's driving me crazy. It drives me crazy when I watch these comments. I'm like, you're trying to sound like a scholar here, and you are pointing, or you're just propagandists. That's all you are. You're a propaganda machine. It's, you know, when I know how often I've mentioned them, but when I really think about my family back in the day, my great grandma, who lived the longest of all of them, like basically 100, one of her main staples was those sweetie things, those candies. I mean, the woman lived on, every time I went over there, she had a huge bag of these things. She was always snacking on them. She lived 100. She was in perfect health. I'm not going to go through my whole lineage, but they didn't care. Like when I was growing up, nobody cared. Nobody was looking at, like, I don't remember when the food labels came around, but I know when I was born, they didn't exist yet, or they were not, like, you know, they didn't have to be put on the box yet. No one cared. No one looked at it. Everybody was skinny. Nobody had like all these crazy diseases. 1979 is when Alzheimer's was deemed to exist, and the livestock group started seeing the Alzheimer's in livestock after adding seed oils. What did they do? They took the seed oils out. Alzheimer's went away. They sold the seed oils to you. They've been doing it for like 45, 6 years now. So it's ingrained. So people are like, oh, these are... I was watching a farmer the other day, and I'm like, they don't care about animal death at all. I'm like, and he's talking about how healthy seed oils are because he grows corn. I'm like, you've got all these animals. Use the tallow, the lard, if you're going to fry things. Come on. Nobody was having issues when that was the case. Nobody. If you look at the old French cookbooks, they would render chickens, take out all the fat because that's really toxic. The more poultry that's being eaten, the more unhealthy people are getting too. They would render the fat out, and they would add butter. They would add lard into it because for whatever reason, our body likes saturated fat, but they're telling us that saturated fat's bad. And then you've got and here's another thing too, is you've got the crew, the high carb crew telling you the fat's bad, fat's bad. They all die in their 60s and 70s, and their brain cognition is gone. So, whose side do you stay on? It's crazy. It's impossible for me to ignore the fact that most of these plant-based doctors are passing away, but they all did the experiment. So my point of this video is, if you made it this far, maybe, I don't know, say something funny in the comment section. But they have us fighting. That's the one thing that they always are good at. Always are so good at. They divide us. They have us fighting against each other, completely ignoring the actual problem. And then you get your extremist nuts who are trying to live on fruit juice and all that kind of stuff. Like, okay. And then you've got the other people over here who are trying to live on nothing but T-bone steaks, fighting with each other. And then you got somebody halfway in the middle. And then another thing is they kill cities, you know, like, go, here's a car, drive out to the suburbs or whatever, always use your car, don't walk anywhere, don't do anything. And then they sell us a gym membership. You know, it's like, it's crazy. And here's the thing, you vote with your dollar. So you vote with your dollar. You told them that you're a willing participant in this by keep paying for it. You keep going to these places and buying this stuff. You keep just driving and not ever exercising, or buying gym memberships and never, you know, so you are a willing participant, and you can't blame them at all. They just want to make money. They don't really care. You know, like, you're going to die, you know, they'll just, you know, people replicate. So they'll always have somebody. And then what's even worse is the parents, like, embed this in the kids' brains, like, blah, 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 go to the doctor, get all these you know, and then they see their parents at the age of like 35 on 10, 12 medications. And so then the kid's like, well, you know, I'm going to one up that. I'm going to try to be on 25, like, by the time I'm 35, you know, like, because look how much it helped my parent. Oh, they're in the box in the ground at 42. Oh, I can't figure out why. It's ridiculous what has gone on. It's ridiculous. Now, I think with this current administration that's coming into office, we'll see what happens with this. I hope these are not false promises. If they are, I think, you know, we should just do what some other countries are doing and just get rid of everybody. But yeah, it just really, really look at what's happening right now. Really look. Now, you can't blame these people, because you voted for it with your dollar. You don't have to buy this stuff, right? You don't have to do it, but you do. So you can't say, well, you know, they're just trying to kill us. You bought the stuff. They, for the most part, put what's in the ingredients on the label, on the box or bag that you bought. You bought it. There's the internet. You can look anything up now. They can't hide everything. So you can't blame the people selling it to, because they just want money out of you. And then when you die, that, you know, you already did the work for them when you had your kids, because you're telling your kids how you should do this. So they already have their propaganda pooped onto their, you know, your kids, like vomited onto the kids. So then you're just going to keep doing that, and you're just going to, you know, call it a day. And the kids that you have, you know, you sold them a bill of goods, and your kids maybe looked into it, maybe didn't. And if they didn't, they're paying for it too. So this video is kind of all over the place. Hopefully it made sense to somebody, but we are all kind of the problem, right? Because we bought into this system. We didn't have to. There's way more of us than there is them. So if we started voting with our dollar, you don't even have to get violent about it. Just vote with your dollar. Just don't buy the stuff anymore. See what happens. Yeah. Anyway, it's just like, it's just like the banking system. Like, a very small percent of people, if they withdrew their money all on the same day, would crash the system. They wouldn't even know what to do. Very small percent of people start pulling their money out of these industries, they would fall apart in weeks. They'd be gone. Weeks. And that is why people like me and other people are so heavily shadow banned. Because if you listened, looked into it, and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to buy that anymore, what would happen? The entire industry would crash. Now, this industry would crash, and then it would start going into another one and put money into that. It's just an endless cycle. So you have to vote with your dollar. But if you're on a carnivore end of the things, if you're on the high carb end of things, that's really not where this is at. Like, this is really not where this is at. They're both an elimination diet. One uses animals, one uses plants. Like, they're an elimination diet of some kind. But the thing that we are eliminating for the most part is what is actually causing the issues. And that is what everybody needs to be looking out for. I mean, when I was growing up, I think there was 3 or 4 ingredients in McDonald's fries, maybe 5. There was potatoes, beef tallow, salt. I think that was it. I don't know, but it was very minimal. And now there's like 24 ingredients, and like the potatoes are like the last ingredient. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Anyway, that's my video. I did not expect this to go on this long. Hopefully you made it this far. If you did, make comments, because this algorithm, it fights with me hard. And I'm hoping this new administration is going to help me out with that. But yes, I mean, again, you cannot put blame on these people. They just want to make money, and you are just buying this stuff. So that is it. That is it. I'm not saying it's right what they do, but again, it's just like, people buy electronic vehicles. I don't know why, but they do. And it's the same thing with this other food. Like, people buy this stuff, and I don't know why. Anyway, that is my video. I could really talk about this for forever, because it is, I mean, you see so many posts about it. It's like exhausting. It's like, how can you not know that glucose runs the body? I just don't understand it. Anyway, talk to you in the next one. Peace.